Back in the class of 2016, there was a defensive lineman making waves in the recruiting world. I remember hearing about him my junior year of high school, playing high school football in New Jersey myself. Everybody kept saying the name, Rashan Gary, and it got to the point where I decided to look the player up. When I came to his recruiting profile, I was in awe. The scouting report, 10 for athleticism, hand quickness, first step and explosiveness, and a rating of 9 for motor, point of attack, strength, and size. He stood at 6'5" and weighed 293 pounds. His nickname, Bane Gary, after the DC supervillain who was known as the only villain to have broken Bateman. The man destroyed high school offensive linemen, throwing them aside like they were middle schoolers, and to this day, he is known as one of the greatest recruits not just to come out of New Jersey, but all time. But who is Rashan Gary? In the Who Is series, we go through the backstories of up-and-coming collegiate and pro athletes. If there's a player you want to see in future episodes, make sure to let me know in the comment section below. Also, is Rashan Gary the greatest recruit to ever come out of the state of New Jersey? Let me know below. Rashan Gary was born on December 3rd, 1997, and grew up in northern New Jersey. At age 11, Gary measured to be 6 feet and 240 pounds and was forced to play up in age division. His first Division I offer came from Rutgers as an 8th grader, and Gary started his high school football career at Scotch Plains Fanwood High School before he transferred to New Jersey powerhouse Paramus Catholic High School his junior year, when he moved from Scotch Plains, where he lived with his father, to Plainfield with his mother. Gary's original high school claimed that he was recruited by Paramus Catholic to transfer, which is against NJSIAA rules. The NJSIAA unanimously ruled that Scotch Plains had not proven the allegations. As a junior, Gary recorded 55 tackles and 14 sacks and was named New Jersey Defensive Player of the Year. As a senior, Gary recorded 55 tackles, 29 tackles for a loss, 4 forced fumbles, and returned a blocked punt for a touchdown in 9 games. Gary was once again named New Jersey Defensive Player of the Year, while also being named USA Today Defensive Player of the Year and a high school All-American. Gary finished his high school career playing in the Under Armour All-American game, where he recorded 6 tackles and 3 sacks, resulting in being named the MVP of the game. Coming out of high school, Gary was the #1 player in the country for his class of 2016. He finished as the most recent 1.0000 rated player according to 24/7 Sports Composite, and the 3rd player in the country to be unanimously named the #1 player by all 4 major recruiting networks, 24/7 Sports, ESPN, Rivals, and Scouts. The other 2 players were Robert Condici in 2013 and Jadeveon Clowney in 2011. According to Scouts Mike Olson, no high school player is ever a can't-miss prospect, but Gary comes as close to that as a defensive lineman can. Gary received over 30 different Division I offers from the who's who of college football. Many believed Gary's decision came down between Michigan and Clemson. Michigan had hired Chris Patridge, a former high school coach at Gary's, as the director of player personnel and recruiting, later promoting him to the linebacker and special teams coach in January of 2016. After taking visits to Auburn, Clemson, Michigan, Ole Miss, and USC, Gary decided to commit to the Wolverines. After Gary returned to the green room, his mother whispered just loud enough for USA Today Network New Jersey columnist Darren Cooper to hear, "We did it. We did it. My son is a Michigan man." Gary played in all 13 games as a freshman, recording 27 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, and 1 sack. As a sophomore, Gary started all 13 of Michigan's games, recording 66 tackles, 12 tackles for a loss, and 6 sacks. He earned all Big Ten honors as well as academic all Big Ten honors and the recipient of the Richard Katcher Award, which is given to the most outstanding Michigan defensive lineman or outside linebacker. Going into Gary's junior year, there were high expectations for the New Jersey product, being named AP preseason second-team All-American and named to several award watch lists. Unfortunately, Gary dealt with a shoulder injury that caused him to see limited time in September and miss all of October. He finished the season recording 38 tackles, 6.5 tackles for a loss, and 3 sacks in 9 games, which was good enough to be named All Big Ten first team. After the season, Gary declared for the NFL draft and was projected to be a top 10 pick. Gary started his own sports agency and was drafted 12th overall by the Green Bay Packers. Going to the NFL draft, Stephen White of SB Nation wrote, "On tape, he looked like a guy who should have made a lot of plays, but he didn't actually make a lot of them in the 4 games that I watched. At the Combine, he also performed like a top athlete, running a 4.54 in the 40-yard dash and notching a vertical leap of 38 inches, which is kind of wild for a guy who is 6'4 and almost 280 pounds. But again, I didn't always see the kind of speed and explosiveness on the field. I was starting to wonder if maybe he was playing out of position at defensive end since he is pushing 280 pounds. perhaps he would be better off as a defensive tackle instead. I mean, a few opportunities to kick inside as a 3 technique at Michigan, Gary wasn't exactly a world beater there either. I don't want to give the impression that I'm ragging on Gary, because he really didn't play all that poorly overall. In fact, to the contrary, he did do some things pretty well. I guess I just kept waiting to see more from him, but unfortunately, that more hardly ever came. Packers scouts, though, believe that Gary would fit in the outside linebacker position when it came to their defense. In his first 2 seasons with the Packers, Gary recorded 56 tackles, 8 tackles for a loss, 7 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, 11 quarterback hits, and 31 career regular season games. Gary is having his best season so far this year with 5.5 sacks, 31 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, a forced fumble, and 19 quarterback hits. Unfortunately, Gary would get his arm caught in a pile yesterday against the Seahawks, and after the play he was writhing in pain. CBS announcer Jim Nantz said the footage was too gruesome to show on replay. Luckily for Packer fans, it does not seem like the injury is too serious, as there is no indication of a break or ligament damage, and Gary hopes to wear a brace on Sunday against Minnesota in play. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my other videos right here. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.